Hey everybody, it's Josh Alexander with The Brokerage and your host of Orange County Housing Market News. On today's episode, I'm going to be discussing the top 5 things that you need to be doing as a homeowner before you place your home on the market that doesn't cost an arm and a leg. However, it will lead to a much higher sales price and ultimately more money in your pocket. If you're a returning subscriber to the show, thank you again for your continued support. If this is the first time you're tuning in, this show is all about Orange County real estate. So I go over local trends in the market, I interview other experts in the field, and then I also give out different tricks, tips, and advice for both buyers and sellers to help you out in today's market. So if you're thinking about buying or selling a home, make sure you hit that subscribe, like, share, as well as the bell button below if you're watching this on YouTube. That way you're notified every time a new episode comes out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so the way that I'm going to work through this list today is going to start with the least expensive item and then work our way up to typically the most expensive item. Now, like I said at the beginning, all of these options don't typically cost that much money in the grand scheme of things. However, the return on investment tends to be huge and you tend to be able to walk away with a lot more money in your pocket if you're able to do most, if not all of these things before you sell your house. So let's go ahead and look at number 1. So number 1 is going to be to declutter and depersonalize. So let's go ahead and start with decluttering first. So I want to paint a picture for you. Pretend that you're a buyer going into a house. When you walk in the door, the first thing you see is every countertop space, every table, every desk is full of knickknacks, full of appliances, and there's no space on the counters. You go and open up the coat closet, there's boxes stacked up, there's coats hanging, and it looks like things are about to fall out. As you're touring the house, you go through the bedrooms, open up those closet doors, and it's the same thing. You open up, there's boxes everywhere, there's shoes piled on top of each other, there's clothes all over the place, not organized, and it looks like there's no space in the closet. What type of first impression do you think this leaves on the buyer? The first thing the buyer is going to think is that this house is much smaller than they originally thought it was. And on top of that, they are also going to start thinking, wow, it looks like this seller is really disorganized. Whether that's true or not, that's the impression that a lot of buyers will get if you have stuff all over the house when they're going in to see it. So you really need to make sure that you're walking from room to room and decluttering everything you can. So in the kitchen, if you have a bunch of appliances sitting on the counters, you just want to make sure that you're taking them off. You want to show that kitchen counter space. You want to show how much room there is on the kitchen counter to be able to prep meals, put food on, so the buyers can more easily picture themselves living there and they can see how much counter space is actually available. When you go through your rooms, you want to get into the closets and you really want to go through, and let's say it's the middle of summer, if you have a bunch of coats in there, you don't need those right now. So go through, take those out, box them up. You're going to be moving anyway, so you're just getting a head start. Box them up, throw them in the garage for now, or if you have a lot of stuff, you can always rent a self-storage container and get all that stuff out of your closet. And then once you get all of the stuff out of your closet you don't need, now you want to go through and actually organize the closet. So make sure you put all the shoes in pairs, line everything up nicely. If you can even color code the clothes in your closet. That way, as soon as the buyer opens the closet door, the first thing they see is this closet has a lot of space. This seller is super organized. If they're super organized with their closet, I'm excited to see what the rest of the house has to offer. So that first impression is so important to be able to give a good first impression to the buyer, and having your house organized, clean, decluttered is going to make it appear larger, and it's going to give the buyer the feeling that this seller really takes care of the house and it's a house that I might be interested in putting an offer in on. Now let's go ahead and look at the depersonalizing. So again, let's say that you're a buyer, you walk into a house and all you see is family photos all over the wall. The disadvantage of this when a buyer walks in is they have a harder time picturing themselves living there. And the most important thing for you as a seller to do when buyers walk into the home is you want them to be able to picture themselves living in the home, creating memories of their own. And if all they're seeing all over the walls are family pictures of your family, it's going to be harder for them to imagine that. So I highly recommend that you take down any family photos that you have. If you have a bunch of holes in your wall after you take down all those photos, you can either patch them up and paint them or go down to your local home decor store, get some neutral frames that you can hang up with different photos and pictures, and put those up instead. And that just gives the buyer a little bit easier time going through and picturing themselves living there. You want that emotional attachment from the buyer and having those thoughts of, I can see myself living here. So that's why it's so important. And the best part is, typically this is going to be free for you. If you need to rent a self-storage container, it may cost a little bit of money. However, in today's market, when you get your house on the market, it's typically going to sell very quickly as long as you price it at market value. So you won't have to rent those storage containers for months and months and months. Typically, you only need them for a month or two. And again, the advantage of doing that is you can start packing some of the stuff that you already know that you don't need and just getting ahead of it so that way you don't have as much to pack once you get into escrow. So number 2 is curb appeal. So you've probably heard it plenty of times, but first impressions are everything. And what is typically the first thing that buyers see as they pull up to your house? Your front yard. So you want to make sure that it looks good. So again, imagine yourself as a buyer pulling up to a house that you think you might want to place an offer on, and the first thing you see is the grass is overgrown, has been cut in probably a month, there's leaves everywhere, there are planter boxes, but all the flowers are dead, and it just looks like it's in disrepair. That's not the kind of first impression you want to have for buyers walking into your house, because a lot of them will see that and immediately say, I no longer want to place an offer on this house. You want to make sure that first impression is something that's going to last with them. They get out of their car and they're already excited about seeing the inside of the house because they're so excited about what the outside looks like. So let's go over some things that you could be looking at when you're looking at trying to increase the curb appeal of your house. So if you have grass in your front yard, it's pretty obvious, but you want to make sure that it's green. So if it's not green, if you've been underwatering it for a while to save some water, this is the time that you're going to want to turn those sprinklers on. Have a little bit extra water on there so that way it's green before you start taking photos and having people go into your house. If you do have green grass and have little spots here and there that are brown, an easy way to fix that, take a photo of it, take it down to your local Home Depot, show them what type of grass you have. They can either give you patches to patch those brown spots or give you the right seed to be able to plant new seed in there and have new grass grow. Again, that way by the time you get photos of your house and you have people coming into your house, everything is green, uniform, and looks nicely manicured and well taken care of. So this is important to do at least a few weeks before you decide that you want to place your house on the market, so you have time to prep these type of things. Now for the planter boxes, the nice thing about Southern California is there's always something blooming. So if you don't have any plants in those planter boxes, or if they've been dead and neglected for years and just have never gotten around to replacing them, now's the time to go down to your local nursery, see what flowers are blooming, and replant those planter boxes. You want to make sure that the house is vibrant, it looks alive, and so by getting that pop of color that the flowers bring, it's a great addition to any front yard and it makes it look new again. Now, speaking of planter boxes, if you do have planter boxes or if you have other planters around the area and it's just dirt, an easy way to make it look brand new again is, again, just go down to your local Home Depot or Lowe's, grab some mulch or some kind of bark, and just sprinkle a fresh coat of bark throughout all the planter boxes. It makes everything look brand new, and it's relatively inexpensive. It's an easy way just to make everything pop in those planters and come alive. And now, if you have plants that are a little bit larger, this is a good time to go through and give them a trim. You want to have the shape to them and want to make sure they look like they've been well taken care of. So if you don't have a gardener or you don't have the tools, it might be worth going to pick up a set of tools to trim those hedges, and that way the house looks like it's, again, well manicured, well taken care of, so you're giving that great first impression. Another pretty easy thing to do is you can pressure wash the driveway, and you can even pressure wash some of the outside of your house on the low setting, as long as the outside stucco or whatever type of material you have is in good condition. Those pressure washers, if you don't have one, could be rented at a local Home Depot or Lowe's, and you can take it, clean off the driveway, clean off that excess dirt on the side of your house, and make everything shine and look new again. So that's relatively inexpensive to do, but it's a great investment on money because it makes everything look clean and everything well taken care of. Now, one more thing that you can add to this list, and it's something that year after year keeps coming up as one of the best return on investments for what you can do to a home to be able to make it sell for more, is if you have an old garage door, whether it be a really old garage door like one of the wooden ones or a roll-up garage door that's maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 years old, now might be a good time to replace it before you put it on the market. It's shown time and time again that a brand new garage door, yes, it might cost $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, but it increases the value of the house because it makes for a much better first impression. It makes the whole outside of the house look new again. So if your garage door is looking chipped, worn, a little weather beaten, it might be a good idea to get someone out to replace it with something new. Again, just to increase that curb appeal so the buyer gets the best first impression possible, and you're setting yourself up for success as they walk through the remainder of your property. So number 3 is staging your home. So as a seller in today's market, you might be thinking to yourself right now, why in the world would I stage my home? I know my home is going to sell. It's an extremely hot market. So why would I waste my money staging my home? Well, there's a couple things to note about this. So number 1, even in today's market, it's been shown time and time again that if you have a home that is staged, it's going to sell even faster and at a higher dollar amount than a similar home that is not. So that money that you put in, even in today's market, to stage a home is going to give you a much better return on investment than if you didn't do it at all. So you need to keep that in mind. Number 2, the reason why this happens is because when you stage your home, it allows the buyer to better picture themselves living in there. And when you're trying to sell your home, it's all about getting the buyer to get as emotionally attached to the home as possible, because once they're emotionally attached to the home, the financial side of things that they might have been very strict on sticking to a certain budget tends to kind of go out the window, and they have a little bit more flexibility in the range of price that they're willing to offer on the home if they can picture themselves living there, if they fall in love with it, and if they already start thinking about how many memories they're going to be able to create in this home. So staging your home gives you a much better chance to have the buyers fall in love with the property and really put a much higher priced offer on the home to begin with, just because they can see themselves living there a little bit easier. And if you don't want to take my word for it, you can also look at the latest National Association Realtor poll from 2021 that showed that 82% of buyers could better picture themselves living in a home that is staged versus unstaged. So ideally, if you could have your home staged, it's just going to lead to buyers falling in love with it, which creates higher offer prices, more offers, and ultimately a higher price for your home. So spend the money, or at least get that consultation from a home stager to see how expensive it would be, and that way you can make a final decision based on the price versus just your gut feeling. So number 4 is going to be paint, and specifically interior paint. So let's go ahead really quickly again and just picture yourself as a buyer. You're walking into a home, and one of the first things that you're seeing is there's scuffs and scrapes all over the wall. It looks like the house is kind of beaten up. The baseboards are all dirty. It's not a great first impression to leave with the buyer because it looks like the house is just not well taken care of. So if you haven't painted the inside of your house in 5, 10, 15 or more years, or if you have kids like myself, it might be a little bit sooner than that with all of the scratches and dents that they create, it might be a good idea to hire a painter to redo the inside of the house, or if you want to put the sweat equity in yourself, feel free to do so. But it's a good idea just to paint it a nice neutral, bright white or something like that. So that way when a buyer walks in, the first thing they smell is going to be that nice fresh coat of paint that buyers love. They look at the walls, they all look brand new, all those scuffs are gone, and it makes the home appear like it's well taken care of. And again, leading them to better first impression and leading them to better be able to picture themselves living there because they see the house was well taken care of and they're excited about placing an offer on it. Now, if you want to go even further on the paint side of things, a few other things you can look at is the front door. If your front door hasn't been painted in a while, it's starting to look faded, now would probably be a good time to get it a nice fresh coat of paint so as soon as a buyer walks up to the door, again, it looks brand new. So what about the external paint? Well, this one tends to be a little bit more situational for me because the overall cost of painting the exterior of your home typically is going to be more expensive than painting the interior. So a couple things you want to look at is how fresh the outside of the house looks. If it looks like it's really dirty, maybe it only needs a little bit of a power wash and everything will be fine again. If it looks like it's going to need more than that, if there's paint chipping all over the wood and the siding there's paint missing, then it might be more in your best interest to go through and have someone go out and repaint the exterior of the home. Another thing you want to look at is the color. If the exterior of the home is a lime green or some crazy color that you like at the time, however, it's not going to appeal to a large majority of buyers, then I would say it would be definitely worth the investment to paint the exterior of a home the more neutral color to attract more buyers and give them a better first impression versus the first thing they see when they pull up is great, not to spend a bunch of money to repaint this house because I don't like the color. So the fifth and final one is going to be minor bathroom remodels. So with bathrooms, if you haven't touched your bathroom or updated it in 10, 15, 20 years, now might be a good time to put in a little bit of money just to make it look refreshed and new again without breaking the bank. So if you were to do a full remodel on the bathroom, you could be spending minimum $15,000, $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 on the bathroom, depending on how big it was. However, just by doing a few small things for maybe a few $1,000s, you can really get by and make the bathroom feel new again without having to replace everything. So let's go through a couple of those. So bathtub. If you have a bathtub that has hard water marks all over it, there's some chips in it, it looks faded, a really easy thing you can do is just have someone go through and reglaze it. It only costs a couple $100s, and that reglazing process will make that bathtub look brand new again. Another thing to look at in the bathtub area is if you have a shower head that again has hard water spots on it, it looks like it's been there for a while, go to Home Depot, buy a $20 or $30 shower head, replace it, and again, it's just one small thing you could do to make sure it looks as new as possible. Now on the vanity side of things, if you have an older vanity, you could go through and do the same thing, reglaze the top of it for a few $100s. If you have some older wood on the bottom, you can go through and paint it a nice bright white, put some new hardware on there, more modern hardware. And again, for a few $100s, you can make it look brand new again. Or you can replace the vanity altogether if it's a smaller vanity, and it typically only costs $1,000, $2,000 to have someone go in there and replace a vanity for you. And then you just want to make sure that you're going through updating light fixtures, updating the mirror if needed. If it's a really old toilet, it's probably a good idea to have that updated as well. And then just repaint the bathroom again to a nice neutral color. This in total will probably cost you maybe $5,000. However, the return on investment of someone walking into the bathroom saying, I don't have to do anything to this, is going to get you a lot more money in the long run than the money it costs to do something like that. And you can do that on every bathroom you have in the house if you have the time, the patience, and the money to do so. Now, one more thing I do want to address before I wrap up is kitchen remodels. A lot of people think that spending your money in the kitchen is going to bring you the best return on investment compared to most other projects in the house. However, this typically is not going to be true. If you want to go through and redo your entire kitchen, that could cost you $75,000, $100,000, $150,000 to get everything updated and brand new again. If you think you might want to update your kitchen because it hasn't been touched in a long time, again, it's usually better just to do a minor refresh. So go through all the cabinetry, give it a nice fresh coat of paint, update the hardware so it looks new again. You might need to replace the countertops or some of the backsplash and some of the hardware like the sink faucet, but more than that is really not necessary to be able to get a good return on investment. So instead of spending $75,000, maybe you spend $10,000 on the kitchen and get everything looking new again, and that will tend to give you a better return on investment than doing a full kitchen remodel right before you sell your home. So those are just some things to think about before you place your home on the market. And again, this has been proven time and time again to give you the most return on investment for the amount of money and time you're putting into the home. So it's something that I do recommend that all sellers at least look at doing most, if not all of these things before they place their home on the market. Even in today's market, because buyers are wanting those HGTV types of homes and they're willing to spend a premium to get those homes. So when you put the money in the right places, you're going to get a better return. And ultimately, you're going to walk away with more money in your pocket after everything is said and done, which is typically the goal of selling your home. So you want to maximize the profit you're going to make, and those 5 things will help you do that and make the most money even in today's crazy hot sellers market. So are there other things you can do as a seller to be able to increase the value of your home before you sell it? Of course, there's hundreds of things that sellers can do to their home to increase the value. However, those 5 tend to be the most universal things that will apply to most sellers. And for the money you spend, you typically get the best ROI and are able to maximize the profit on the back end. However, if you do want a very specific list based on your home and your circumstances, the best thing to do is just contact a local real estate agent. When you do that, they can walk through your house, give you recommendations based on your neighborhood, your city, and what home buyers are looking for in your area. And that way you have a better idea of exactly what you should be doing before you place your home on the market. So again, if you found this content useful, please hit that like and subscribe as well as bell button below. That way you're notified every week when I release a new episode. Until next time, stay healthy, stay happy, and I hope to see you on the next show. Bye.